Once upon a time, prayers echoing through Europe's quiet churches carried the seeds of rebellion. For the first time, man questioned the veil between himself and God. This was not merely a movement of faith, it was a revolution. Welcome to one of the most turbulent periods in the history of religion. This is the Age of Reformation. Faith Through Time, Episode 7, The Reformation, When Faith Challenged Power, Part 7 of the series Faith Through Time, The Story of Human Belief. 1. Before the Reformation, the Church that ruled the world. For nearly 1,000 years, the Church had stood as the unchallenged heart of Europe. From kings to peasants, every soul lived beneath its shadow. Cathedrals towered over towns, their bells marking time, their altars defining truth. The Pope's word could crown or destroy rulers. His blessing sanctified war, trade, and marriage alike. Faith and obedience were inseparable, and salvation itself seemed to flow only through the hands of priests. But as wealth and corruption grew, so did discontent. Beneath the golden crosses, murmurs of change began to rise. 2. Martin Luther, the spark that ignited the fire. In 1517, a German monk named Martin Luther walked up to the castle church in Wittenberg and nailed his 95 Theses to its door. He was not seeking revolution, but reformation. He challenged the sale of indulgences, the notion that salvation could be bought with coin, and questioned the Church's authority to mediate between God and humanity. His act was both spiritual defiance and moral rebellion. What began as one man's conviction became the spark that set Europe aflame. 3. The printing press, the weapon of words. Just decades before Luther, Johannes Gutenberg's printing press had changed the world. Books, once copied by hand, could now be multiplied and spread faster than any decree or sermon. Luther's words, printed and translated, traveled beyond borders, reaching the hands of merchants, soldiers, and scholars. For the first time, ideas became contagious. Faith was no longer confined to pulpits. It was read, discussed, and debated in taverns and homes. 4. Protest and revolution, the birth of new faiths. The movement spread like wildfire. Reformers across Europe, Zwingli in Switzerland, Calvin in Geneva, Knox in Scotland, each gave voice to new visions of Christianity. They sought to strip faith of excess and return to Scripture. Churches split, altars were overturned, statues smashed. It was as if 1,000 years of silence had broken, releasing centuries of suppressed thought. But with freedom came chaos and blood. Wars erupted not just between nations, but within families and hearts. 5. Catholic response, Counter-Reformation and the Jesuits. The Catholic Church did not remain silent. Recognizing the danger, it launched the Counter-Reformation. Through the Council of Trent, it reasserted doctrine, purified abuses, and reaffirmed discipline. The Jesuit order, founded by Ignatius of Loyola, became its spearhead. Scholars, teachers, and missionaries who carried the faith to the corners of the earth. From Rome to India, from Spain to the Americas, they built schools, converted souls, and redefined the Church's global mission. 6. Wars of faith, when belief turned to blood. The Reformation tore Europe apart. The 30 Years' War ravaged the continent, leaving cities in ruin and millions dead. Catholics and Protestants slaughtered one another in the name of God, and faith became a battlefield. In France, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre painted the streets with blood. In England, monarchs rose and fell depending on their creed. The promise of spiritual liberation had birthed an age of torment. But through that suffering, the idea of tolerance slowly began to emerge. 7. The rise of individual conscience. In the ashes of war, a new idea took root, that conscience, not authority, was the true voice of God. Reformers like Luther had not intended to create hundreds of denominations, but they had unlocked something irreversible: personal interpretation of Scripture. Faith was no longer dictated from above, it was discovered within. The believer became their own priest, their own interpreter, their own seeker of truth. 8. Legacy, freedom of belief and modern faith. The Reformation reshaped the Western world. It birthed the modern notions of freedom, literacy, and democracy. By insisting that individuals could read and understand Scripture for themselves, it indirectly inspired revolutions of thought and politics. From the Enlightenment to the founding of modern nations, the echoes of that spiritual rebellion still ring. Faith had challenged power, and in doing so, had freed the human mind. 9. Epilogue, the faith that endures. Even now, centuries later, the Reformation remains one of humanity's greatest turning points. It taught that belief cannot be chained, that truth is not owned by any institution. In every whispered prayer, every question of conscience, and every search for meaning, the spirit of that age endures. The courage to stand, to doubt, to believe anew. The Reformation was not merely a religious event, it was the rebirth of human thought. It broke the monopoly of authority and invited each soul to seek its own light, and thus faith evolved once again, proving that belief, when challenged, only grows stronger.